What is up, DTube Hexicans? Today I want to talk about a topic that I want to call Hex Breakaway Civilization. Is it possible? So I did a video, I think it was around a year ago, where I talked a little bit about this concept, but not about Hex specifically, because Hex didn't exist then. But I talked about this topic that was called, let's see, let's see. So I was talking about is a breakaway civilization possible? And I think in that video that I talked a little bit about this concept about technology and how it goes forward. And so what is my updated experience now? Is it possible to hex breakaway civilization? And I specifically want to add hex as the main topic here when it comes to breakaway, because so when I now have had an experience of first be a part of following hex for around a year before the smart contract kind of started, it's and then be early into the smart contract December 2019, and seeing how other people kind of react to it, it kind of makes me curious, because I thought that more people would kind of especially people with intelligence, I thought that a lot of them would kind of flip faster to see the value with hex. But since they're not doing that, there seems like there's some deeper psychological things that's going on that makes them have success barriers, that makes them not study hex. Maybe it's just something that every new project has to kind of prove himself, and then yeah, maybe. But I don't think Ethereum probably got this much hate when it launched the first year. It probably wasn't this in this kind of extreme way as it has been with Hex. And it kind of makes me consider this concept of breakaway civilization. So let me explain exactly what I mean with that. So first of all of this technology, it is very complex. This niche, to use to grasp these concepts, use to grasp this technology, it takes that you have to be very, very super attentive and super involved with this kind of technology to kind of understand smart contracts, to understand Ethereum, to understand the decentralized aspect, why it's kind of important. For you to grasp all of those concepts, it means you have to kind of be someone that's very, very engaged in it. And what I'm seeing with Hex is, so I'm seeing some people are super engaged. So I'm seeing people that are watching Hex videos, they're watching around 10 minutes, 11 minutes, 12 minutes in length. And then we're seeing people that are completely opposite, like complete ignorant to it. And they are not consuming new intelligence. They're not gathering new intelligence, which kind of makes me consider that you always can you can have this like miniature the rich get richer effect, but the almost like the breakaway civilization becomes more breakaway in terms of technology, where you can have this like compound effect just as you get with for example in a Monopoly game, how usually a few guys eventually get all of the houses, and then eventually one guy wins. Seems like with technology you may see a similar aspect, especially with these advanced smart contracts, that takes so much involvement to kind of understand them, to grasp the vision and to grasp why it's needed. It's it feels like you can have a situation where, especially when funds are coming in to people that are super sharp, that they can get a super exponential edge about people that are not so engaged, that you can have this kind of hex breakaway civilization effect, where if you have a group of individuals that are like super engaged every day, and it almost hex becomes almost like a lifestyle for them, and they upgrade their smartphones, they start using machine learning and deep learning, they have access to the latest information about stuff. It seems like if you combine all of these, that there's a lot of hexagons are now using, they're learning about building up their own brands, becoming social media experts, becoming experts in what words to use in terms of brands and marketing. They're becoming it seems like they're evolving into almost like a more advanced technological creature that is thinking 10 steps ahead. And it seems like they may think 10 steps ahead because now we're seeing how hostile everyone is to us. Gatekeepers, everyone is like gatekeeping us, and even the community is gatekeeping us, even though we haven't really deserved to be gatekept because we've been good boys. So what may happen then is like all of this gatekeeping may make it so hexagons basically develop themselves in even more intelligent ways, where they're gathering like consider this, that they're gathering so much more intelligence and knowledge that eventually they know so much more, and while other people are passive and kind of like sheeps, hexagons are becoming more wolf-like all the time because they're always gathering new intelligence. They see how much other people hate them. You can really have this something from the outside that would appear like a technological breakaway civilization, where you have this group of individuals that have all these funds and can do so much cool stuff and can be 10 steps ahead. And yeah, maybe it can be something like a hex breakaway civilization. So the way I'm looking at this, like I want other people I want other people to grow like super intelligent in the hex community as well, but I know that there's some people that are doing more sacrifices, there's some people that are more competent than others, and I want basically to see how humans are, how hex users, how they are going to behave with these new tokens eventually, when they maybe realize it as a profit. I'm curious how they will utilize it. Will they utilize it in so much smarter ways, or will they just be like other rich kids that get rich and then kind of spoil it? I don't think it's kind of set in stone whichever way the sword will swing. If most people will be just like in the regular world, that they're just going to be lazy and that they're not going to engage more, and that they're just super selfish and not looking out for other people. I'm not sure what it's going to be if people are going to do way better choices. That is actually what I think they're going to do, but I don't really know. And if you would have this hex breakaway civilization effect, like let's say these people have all these funds and then they start to build up their own ecosystems. And since if the gatekeeping keeps on going, and let's say the gatekeepers never let us into their own systems, maybe hex users develop so many more tokens, so many new crypto projects, and so many new cool unique brands that may never would have happened if the gatekeeping would have been so extreme. So maybe hex users and hexagons and the hex community, since they see it as a threat what other people are doing to us, maybe it actually makes stuff better in the long run. But that is not something that is truly set in stone, of course, because it's like if all of these other people actually would recognize us, and if they would actually talk about us, these crypto communities and these crypto websites that are appearing like they're kind of noble, if they would kind of recognize us, I mean, that may actually be way better than this kind of brute force effect that you have now, where hexagons has to they don't have to just go to moon, they have to go to Saturn to get some recognition in this industry and get some respect in this industry. And this aspect of respect is also very interesting because you start to consider, okay, who should actually give respect to something. I mean, a lot of these other people, they're writing articles and pretending they're journalists and so on. Many of them are just losers. It's just like they haven't done something for long periods of time. They haven't developed their skills. They're not improving daily. They are more stagnating. And if you're stagnating in this world with increasing competition, it's like you're going to be left behind fairly fast, and you're going to be very, very boring to kind of consume. So how would a hex breakaway civilization potentially happen? Well, first you have this big aspect of computing power. So if you have, let's say, limitless computing power, basically, and since most people, I think they live their life around 30% on the internet, if hex users become experts at internet marketing and the virtual marketing and social brand marketing, if they become experts at these areas and they have access, and you know that people are spending 30% of their life now on the internet looking into a screen, if hex users becomes experts at marketing in the virtual world, they would get this exponential edge where they can keep on buying the latest technology that has even more computing power, that makes them even more original, that makes them even more fun, that makes them even more creative, that makes so they can try more things, that makes so they have even more free time because they have even more funds, that makes you have this positive loop that can kind of happen. And if they see that if they can see the human will and personal power they may get as being a hexagon, and they feel that they have a responsible role in kind of that community, maybe that just makes it so people ping so fast off of each other that it just becomes more efficient community that is just realizing that they can do everything by themselves. I don't really know. I don't really know, but it seems possible that you can get this potential breakaway civilization because I'm looking at all these other things in the industry, and it's mainly blind sheeps leading other blind sheeps, and it's way more. It seems way more corrupt in all of these other things that I'm looking at in the cryptocurrency space. It's really shocking to me. Like, I'm really ashamed of humanity when I'm looking at most of the other things that is not hex. It looks so sad how those communities, they don't get truths, but then again, have they really earned to hear truths? Because most of the times the people in those communities, they're pretty lazy and they don't really seem to care so deeply as hexagons do. So hexagons, in theory, they actually do deserve a breakaway civilization, and they can probably build up their own internal ecosystems. And who knows how far that can kind of go and expand. I mean, so much of this depends on what the big players in this industry is doing and what the big companies in this industry is doing. And it's like they don't realizing that they're kind of burning relationships back and forth when they are ignoring Hex and when they're ignoring high status brands. So Hex is a high status brand that that all these other things in the industry mainly are ignoring, and it means that they have to work harder to look cool because, well, yeah, they have to do everything. They have to do everything themselves, and most of the times they are not as competent as hexagons and the hex community. So I'm not sure what kind of technology we're gonna get in a couple of years, but I have the latest MacBook Pro 16-inch. I have the latest Samsung smartphone, and I see how good these devices are. And I know they're gonna get even faster next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, and eventually it just makes sense probably that every super successful project or super successful smart contract, that they try to build up their own internal ecosystems instead of trying to leech on something that was just okay, it was the first time someone tried to do something like virtual and currency. It was like, and decentralized. It was like Bitcoin in a way. Like, yeah, they tried some things earlier also, but it wasn't that big of a success. So it was cool, like beta test Bitcoin, but clearly smart contracts is more the way to go, especially on Ethereum, because you have Uniswap and you don't need to do KYC and all of this nonsense. It's gonna be fascinating, as I said, and it all is so much of it, as I said, it depends on the human will and yeah, and the choices people are doing on a daily basis, because the choices an individual human being are doing kind of shapes what other people are doing. So it is really interesting how humans, as I said earlier in this video, how they kind of how they're pinging off of each other, and how everyone is trying to become more intelligent. And well, some people some people, they seem to want to like de-evolve, and they seem to want to grow less intelligent, which is kind of sad. I mean, we have a lot of those things going on, but I think that most people, if they have better, if they had better alternatives, they would make better choices. And it's just like people have to start using logic more, and maybe question more things. A lot of things, and yeah, I think a lot of people are going to question more things when they have more free time over, when they have computing power. They can lift away so much work that they in the past had to do manually. So I've been feeling it many years, the petty aspect of I've been feeling the petty aspect of a lot of stuff, a lot of repetitive tasks that we have had to do with technology because we didn't have the automation. And the next couple of years out here with DTube and DTC Coin, Avalon blockchain, they're using video and using a better voting power system than Steam. If you combine that with the HEX trustless interest and we just keep working on building up more cool brands and kind of try to find allies here and there, try to work with human beings and try to care about the human beings. If people just keep on doing that and they stay consistent, it is somewhat of, I think, a kind of paradigm shift in possibilities in what you can do. So this is something that I saw some women talking about in some crypto videos, and this is something that I really loved. And there was this aspect of it's more about the human being. It's more about realizing that you're dealing with real humans, and you're also dealing in this new space, and it takes a long time to kind of grasp it. Even for people that have been in this industry for many years, they keep on learning new things on a daily basis, because none of this is something that you can grasp super easy, because one piece of new information may change your whole worldview and kind of what you're paying attention to. And this is something that I think is pretty good, to kind of realizing that try to not do information overload, especially with HEX, with all the information coming in. Maybe take it a bit slower. And I think in many ways how decentralized a lot of social media, how it kind of has been designed, this aspect of oh, you follow hundreds of accounts. I think that's kind of gonna change in the future, where people are just gonna have one amazing AI assistant, and it's going to fulfill 80% of their needs for a day. So maybe they want to add in like 10% or 15% of novelty in there. But in general, I think most people are just going to have an AI assistant that's going to give so much better advice than you ever had access to in the past. And then people are going to get used to that. Maybe you're going to have like an HEX AI assistant that tells you very detailed stuff about what would be ideal for your situation by just looking at past data. So I've been seeing very interesting stuff about data with HEX. There are these new artificial intelligence deep learning tools that, for example, Ian Bellina is kind of have a product where I mean, the prediction tools that they're using have been extremely spot on, and it's just interesting what you can do with more data. So we think that humans are experts at charting and kind of looking at old data and kind of look at where the future may go. But we're starting to realizing that computers can do this so much better than us, and that it just it just knows so much data. It just knows so much more than what we can consider and speculate and analyze on in our human mind. And when you give all this data to a computer, which I'm not sure what kind of tool and prediction tools Ian Bellina and that company that he is showing what they're using, but I've seen that the predictions based on a lot of past data, it seems to have been very extremely accurate, especially when it comes to HEX. And that was pretty crazy to kind of see, because I think a lot of us are very cynical and very like skeptical that computers can do a lot of things that we are doing. We think in many ways that we're like super magical, but you kind of realizing with HEX that, yeah, we have seen with a smart contract that you can create something from nothing, and it kind of has value if people are sort of willing to trade it. Just as how Bitcoin was able to go up 32 million x in 10 years. Actually, I think it was like 8 years maybe. And I think with smart contracts, we can probably outperform that, and that is something that's super cool. So yeah, Hex breakaway civilization would probably be a lot based on technology and having access to the best technology before everyone else. I like the idea of a hex breakaway civilization, especially if the gatekeepers, if they keep on hating on us, we kind of almost have to do some kind of breakaway civilization. And I'm not really sure how that would kind of evolve, but I know that it would be something new. And I know that maybe in the world people need more better stories, or at least something interesting going on, instead of the same old boring stuff that you have seen a billion times, and that always is the same, and you get so used to it and you get so tired of it. And yeah, I think a lot of people want novelty, and they want good stories, and they want something interesting to happen. And we finally starting to have more fun, more excitement coming into the cryptocurrency industry, and a lot of it is thanks to Hex, and that is something that I think is kind of important to state. So that is kind of what I wanted to talk a little bit about today. It's going to be interesting to study the next couple of months, because we're moving into soon 100 days of Hex, only 100 days left of the AA adoption amplifier launch phase, and after that you're going to have very, very low inflation if more and more people start to stake. So that's going to be interesting to study also. So yeah, that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. Have an awesome day, YouTube. Bye bye.